and Central Asia to do with Middle Eastern intervention.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any more points of information? The delegation of Yemen.
Point of information.
Granted.
How does the Russian delegate assume to understand the complications in Central Asia if Russia itself is not in Central Asia?
First of all, although Russia is not a nation in the Central Asian region, Russia has a long history of involvement in the region, and therefore it has a large amount of leaders who are extremely familiar with the specifics of Central Asia, and therefore would also be well qualified for working in there, unlike nature specialists who have been focusing on the Middle East. Second, Russia also believes that those important decisions should be. Russia believes that terrorism in Central Asia should be funded by Central Asian nations who would also have to make this. Who would be knowledgeable about the question. Russia is not going to make decisions about Central Asia for them, to just participate for Central Asian nations, to just participate in the decision making.
Follow-up?
Granted.
Does the delegate of Russia believe that Russia is an accurate representation for the voice of Central Asia?
But is the United States an accurate representation of the voice of the Middle East?
Delegate, you may not ask a question in your reply.
The delegate apologizes. The delegate does not consider Russia to be the voice of Central Asia. However, in this case, Russia speaks for Central Asian nations.
Are there any more delegates wishing to raise a point of information? Delegation of the United States.
Point of information.
Granted.
Acknowledging that Russia has had continuous involvement, the delegation of USA would like to bring attention to the fact that USA has also had continuous involvement in Central Asia. Does this solely give the USA the right to intervene in Central Asia as it gives Russia the right to intervene in Central Asia?
First of all, Russia does not consider its right to intervene in Central Asia, and even it does consider the USA has never the right to intervene in Central Asia, the Middle East, or in any region. However, in the opinion of Russia, the armies of the Central Asian nations should be supported, and Russia, who has had a much longer history of involvement in the region, and therefore has much more qualified specialists in Central Asian matters, would be a much better support for Central Asian nations than the United States.
Follow?
Granted.
The United States has signed the PFP with the five stands and cooperation between five stands and NATO. Does this now, since that was one of the points that Russia raised, does this now allow the United States to cooperate and intervene in Central Asia?
No, because the PFP is not a technically full-scale military alliance like NATO, and a partnership between armies and an organization which helps armies develop together does not give one of its members the right to intervene in other members' affairs.
Thank you. Points of information are still available. Are there any delegations wishing to raise a point of information? Seeing none, would the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair. The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Please report your seat.
For information to the chair.
Yes, delegate.
May the chair please review the laptop.
That will be in order.
Thank you.
Delegate of China, please approach the podium.
Delegates, the laptop here in the podium is for you to look at. Okay. Never mind. Please bring your own technological devices for this use.
Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Begin when you're ready. Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, China is in full support of this resolution and urges all nations to do so. China believes that this resolution is a great solution to this issue because it has small amounts or even no Western intervention, which China believes will create chaos and make problems even worse. China also believes that as a new rising power of peace, China believes that will help and ease the issue of terrorism by peace. And as the delegation of France say, we shall fight terrorism with hope instead of force. And to clarify the delegates of the USA's questions on the intervention of this issue, China believes that Russia and China and founding members of RATSCO have more right to intervene in this issue over the NATO as suggested by the United States. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate of China has opened himself to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates wishing to raise such a point? The delegation of the United States, you have recognized.
What information?
Granted.
I've seen that the United States and various other nations have been repeatedly attacked by terrorism. Does that not provide the right for the United States and other NATO nations to intervene and cooperate with Central Asian nations to eradicate terrorism?
The delegate of China believes that with the intervention of NATO, problems will be made worse, and with Russia's, China believes that RATSCO has more right to intervene in this issue due to its regional stance in this issue, and much of its members are pertaining or directly related to this issue.
Hello?
Granted.
Seeing that the once again, the delegate has not answered the delegate of the United States question. Seeing that the delegate has been repeatedly attacked by terrorism, does the delegation not have the right to attack terrorism in response?
The delegation of China believes that the USA has no right to intervene in the combat of terrorist activities in Central Asia.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any other delegations wishing to raise a point of information? Delegation of Kazakhstan, Russia, and France. Point of information. Granted.
Would the delegate of China allow foreign intervention if the 5 SAN members agree upon foreign countries to be involved, such as the US?
China would not allow foreign intervention in this issue, as China believes that this issue is to be solved within the region. And if the 5 SANs were to request Western or foreign intervention, it would not be approved. Thank you, delegate. Delegation of Russia. Granted.
How does the delegate of China believe that anti-terrorism should be built without any force if lawmakers in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region have began drafting an anti-religious extremist regulation and have implemented counter-terrorism practices in 2016?
China believes that these measures were to combat attacks on Chinese western border and to completely stop the spread of extremist ideas.
Hello?
Granted.
That is the delegate claiming that an anti-religious regulation is the solution, a part of the solution for anti-terrorism in China.
Yes. Delegation of France. Granted.
Does the delegate of China not believe by not letting foreign powers intervene will isolate Central Asia and make the situation worse?
China believes that only with the foreign interventions, it will make matters worse. China Ratsko nations have the financial and military might to run and sustain its own military operations, or to sustain any of the solutions to ease the issue.
Points are still available. Are there any delegates wishing to raise such a point? Delegation of the United States.
Point of information.
Branson.
Seeing that China is cooperating with the Central Asian nations and not forcing them, how and why does China hold the right to reject help from the US and NATO, even if the Central Asian nations believe that this sort of intervention will in fact be beneficial?
China doesn't see Western intervention as beneficial due to the lack of trust of United States military actions in Syria.
Follow-up?
Granted.
Once again, do the five stands not hold the right to decide who intervenes and who cooperates in Central Asia?
The five stands do not hold the right, and they should if they were to request, it would most likely be denied. China also believes that such requests will not be risen due to China and Russia's military and economic sufficiency to run operations.
Yes, that will be
the peace program has already been declared, and it is in fact a cooperation between the five stands and USA, in that the five stands want the USA to cooperate and intervene in Central Asia. Thank you.
Yes, delegate. Would the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Floor is once again open for any delegates wishing to speak for this resolution. Are there any delegates wishing to take the floor? The chair highly encourages delegations to speak. Seeing none, we will now move to time against this resolution. Are there any delegations wishing to speak against this resolution? Please raise your placards high. Delegation of Yemen. Delegate, please approach the podium. Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Begin when you're ready.
Though the delegation of Yemen believes that the attempts of peace for anti-terrorism depicted in this resolution are well intended, this delegate believes that the resolution is extremely one-sided and unfair to countries, such as primarily Turkmenistan. There is no delegation of Turkmenistan, even here at Scimun, and the country has no voice. This is extremely important because Clause 4 is dedicated entirely to Turkmenistan. And without a voice, this delegate does not believe this resolution should be passed. The resolution also assumes control of Central Asia to Russia, China, and India, which is concerning because Russia has previously used control as a historical game against British power. The delegate of Yemen believes that this resolution does not provide adequate proof of alliance and cannot control the number of extremist ideologies forcing the responsibility on specific countries that do not have anything to do with the terrorists. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate of Yemen has opened himself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegation of Greece, Russia, Uruguay, you've been recommended in that order. Delegate of Greece.
Point of information.
Granted.
Is the delegate of Yemen?
Yes.
Is the delegate of Yemen aware of the fact that India and Pakistan are to be joining the Ratsko in 2017? And will most likely be cooperating with Ratsko and Pakistan on Central Asian terrorism?
The delegation of Yemen is aware that India is already in Ratsko, has not been aware that Pakistan will join, but still stands with his point, because neither Because India is not part of Central Asia either, and therefore should not have a voice either in the primarily in the defense of these countries.
The chair would like to remind all delegates to first raise their placard and then rise. The delegate of Russia.
Russia reply.
Granted.
The delegate of Yemen in his speech accused Russia of imperialism. Whether Russia's involvement in the region has so far been beneficial, and only with the consent of the nations of the region. Unlike the United States, which have multiple times gotten involved in nations without the concept of a legitimate government, or any government in those nations at all, sometimes.
Could the delegate please rephrase his question in a more concise?
Delegate, that was not a question, that was a statement. Could the delegate of Russia please rephrase his statement in a more coherent manner?
The delegate of Yemen has accused Russia of imperialism in his speech. Whether so far Russia's involvement has been entirely beneficial and and backed by Central Asian nations. Unlike, for example, the United States, which have multiple times involved themselves in nations without the consent of the legitimate governments.
The delegation of Yemen apologizes and did not mean to offend the delegation of Russia. The delegation of Yemen is aware that the attempts at imperialism have aged for centuries. However, the delegation of Yemen is concerned of the fight for control and does not see the point of giving control to a select few countries when terrorism should be a global conflict and should be resolved together.
That would be in order.
The delegate of Yemen once again accused Russia of attempting to take over Central Asia. However, in this resolution, is no resolution response. Nothing similar to that is going to happen. It will only get control over anti-terrorist operations to a group of nations, most of which are in Central Asia.
The delegation of Yemen apologizes yet again. However, the delegation of Yemen is not accusing Russia of trying to take control currently. However, the delegation of Yemen is concerned that it is a possibility and that control should not be given to simply a select few countries because in times of crises there may not be enough. There may not be enough time to react, and this delegate believes that the more countries that are involved in these matters, the better.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Uruguay.
Point of information.
Granted.
How can the delegates of Yemen understand the complex situation in Central Asia if Yemen is in fact not in Central Asia?
The delegate of Yemen is aware that Yemen is not in Central Asia. However, Yemen is also a country that has been fighting for control and understands and sympathizes with countries that are lesser developed, and is primarily concerned that these lesser developed countries are being controlled by other countries. This delegate is aware that defense is the primary goal here. However, the delegate believes that with defense there needs to be more room. There needs to be more consent, and there does not appear to be much consent within this resolution. There are no conventions or treaties that have been signed, and one of the countries that is being represented is not even at this conference. which is the concern. We should not be making other countries' decisions for them. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Points of information are still available. Are there any delegates wishing to raise such a point? Delegate of India, Pakistan. You have been recognized in that order. Delegate, please rise and please state your point. Granted.
Does the delegate of Yemen still stand by the statement that India should not participate in following the terrorism issue in Central Asia, even after knowing that India has been a suspect of terrorism for several years and should have no right over stopping terrorism in Central Asia?
The delegate of Yemen does not believe that he has stated that India should not be a part of this. In fact, Yemen believes that every country should come together in order to stop terrorism together, because this is a global issue, and is not trying to exclude India by any means.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Pakistan. Granted.
Previously, the delegate stated that Pakistan was actually irrelevant to this topic.
That was a Freudian slip.
Granted.
Or is the delegate aware that Pakistan is one of the nations that have been affected by terrorism, such as the IO or the IG?
Yes, the delegate. Sorry. Are you okay? The delegate is aware of Pakistan's current conflicts. However, Pakistan is not in Central Asia, and therefore this resolution does not address Pakistan. This delegate is primarily concerned of the countries of Central Asia and protecting their rights.
Thank you. Just to remind, just to tell the delegates, as well as the admin staff, please stop. No passing was suspended for the GA session. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you, delegate. Would the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
Yielded.
The floor is once again open for any delegates wishing to speak against this resolution. Are there any delegates wishing to take the floor? Delegate of the United States. Please approach the podium.
Honorable chairs, esteemed delegates, fellow guests. The delegation of the United States believes that NATO does in fact have a right to intervening in Central Asia, as it has invoked Clause 5 of its article after the attack of 9/11, which allows for the nations of NATO to intervene through the cooperation, unlike certain nations such as China, which seeks to deny the needs and wants of Central Asian nations through the implementation of imperialism. The delegation of the USA would be in full support of this resolution, provided that the USA and NATO nations are included in the various clauses, stating that the US does, in fact, hold the right to intervene. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
And you know.
Delegate.
Apologies, chair stands corrected. May all delegates hold the placard so the voters can see. Thank you. When passing your cards.
Is the delegate open to any points of information?
And you know.
Delegate of the United States is open himself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegation of Russia, Yemen, you have been recognized in that order. The delegate of Russia.
What information?
Granted.
The delegate of the United States was concerned that the resolution might be imperialism. However, the same speech calls for imperialism. Does the delegate not find the position hypocritical?
May the delegate please repeat the question.
May the delegate of Russia please repeat his question in a more coherent manner.
The delegate of America voices his concern that this resolution might lead to imperialism. However, in the very same speech calls for imperialism. Doesn't the delegate see that his stance is hypocritical?
The delegate of the United States has not called for imperialism. In fact, we have called for cooperation and has been seen in past actions through the PFP. Thank you.
Follow up.
Granted.
In his speech, the delegate has declared that he wants NATO intervention in the region, which is an act of imperialism. Does the delegate of the United States not understand that?
The delegate of the United States would want NATO intervention only if the 5 stands agreed to the NATO intervention, which they in fact have through the PFP.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Yemen.
Point of information.
Granted.
Does the delegate of the United States believe that NATO and SCO can come to an agreement if a convention is held?
The delegate of the United States believes that NATO and RATSCO currently are conflicting organizations, and that the only way for cooperation would be for RATSCO to accept that the United States does in fact hold the right to intervening in Central Asia, which RATSCO doesn't seem to be willing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. So, the delegate yield the floor back to the chair.
The delegate of the United States yield the floor back to chair.
Thank you, delegate. Time has now elapsed for time against this resolution. We will now be moving into voting procedures. Admin staff, please secure your doors and suspend all note passing. Admin staff, please count the votes. Yes. Delegates, only one member from each delegation must raise the placard. Yes, delegate.
What's one other degree?
Yes, delegate.
Is voting currently taking place?
Excuse me, delegate?
Is voting currently taking place?
Yes, delegate. All delegates wishing to vote for this resolution, raise your placard.
Motion to extend debate time.
Denied due to time constraints. All delegates wishing to vote for this resolution, raise your placards high. Delegates, we will be voting in terms of rows. First row, raise your placards high. Adam, count.
First row on the right side, over here. Please raise your placards high. Admin staff, please count. 4. Middle. Raise your placards high so that admin can see.
Delegates, first row. Third batch. Delegates, you will not be conducting a revote. Delegates, the chair stands corrected. We will not be conducting a revote. All delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section right here, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to abstain, raise your placards high. In this section. All delegates wishing to abstain, in this section, raise your placards high. All delegates wishing to abstain in this section, raise your placards high.
Motion to divide the House. Seconded.
Objections?
Objection.
Objection overruled due to an overwhelming number of abstentions. We will now conduct vote in the order of delegations.
Delegates, just a reminder, motion to divide the House means there are no abstentions. Delegate of Afghanistan. Delegate of Australia. Delegate of Austria. Delegate of Bangladesh. Delegate of Belgium. Delegate of Brazil. Delegate of Canada. Delegate of China. Delegate of Colombia. Delegate of Cuba. Delegate of Egypt. Finland. Ethiopia. Germany. Uganda. France. Greece. Honduras. Iran. Iraq. India. Indonesia. Israel. Italy. Japan. Jordan. Kazakhstan. Kenya. Kuwait. Mexico. Malaysia. Morocco. Pakistan. Panama. Philippines. Poland. Qatar. Russia. Saudi Arabia. Singapore. There is no abstentions. South Africa. South Korea. Spain. Sudan. Sweden. Switzerland. Syria. Thailand. Tanzania. Tunisia. Turkey. Ukraine. UAE. United Kingdom.
Against.
Uruguay. USA.
Against.
Yemen.
Against.
With 35 votes for and 17 votes against, this resolution passes. Clapping is now in order. Delegates, the chair would like to remind all of you to follow your country's position. The chair has noticed that some countries were voting against their position. This motion to adjourn the session. Objection. Overruled due to time constraints. Session adjourned. Topic is now in order.
Delegates, please remain seated and please remain quiet. Thank you. We will now have a transition. Start the question. Delegates, please remain seated. Please remain seated and be quiet. We have a lunch survey in the Scimun website. It's the same as the past 2 days, so please do it immediately. Thank you.
During the session for a survey.
Delegates, place your placards on the back of your chair.
Thank you.
on the back of your chair. Yes.
Runners, you're welcome.
Facing the other way. Facing towards. So the admin staff. Delegates, be quiet and remain seated.
Hi, can I get all advisors to meet me outside in the lobby just for a moment while students are taking surveys? We have this brief moment. It would take 2 minutes. If you could, all advisors, just right outside the lobby.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
What will be the resolution for EcoHoop?
Posted on the GA session on December.
Only when other delegates are raising their hand.
Is there any delegate who needs more time to take a survey? Raise your hands. Okay. We'll extend the time to take a survey by 30 seconds. Delegates who have taken the survey, please download the disarmament resolution paper from the Scimun website. It's under the GA section. It's on drones submitted by Russia.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
This delegate could not help notice that many delegates are not present, were not present during the voting procedures. What happened to them? Will they be convicted with their...
Delegates are just reported as absent. Delegates will now enter a period of 3 minutes reading time for the resolution. It's the one on drones submitted by Russia, disarmament committee.
Time allocated for reading the resolution has elapsed. We will now invite Russia, the delegate of Russia, to approach the podium to begin your 5-minute speech for this resolution. Delegate, you have 5 minutes.
Honorable Chairs and esteemed delegates, it is the delegate's honor to be presenting the resolution on promoting international regulation on combat and surveillance drones in armed conflict. Without any hesitation, the delegate will first like to ask for the support of this resolution in general from the delegates in this conference room. The delegate believes that the implementation of combat-optimized drones with certain levels of regulation can effectively allow any nations to practice self-defense, as well as strengthen their national security while without hugely impacting the safety of civilians. Getting into the specifics of the resolution, the delegate would like to bring the House's attention to Clause 1 of this resolution. The delegate believes that this clause can be applied universally to all nations because increasing the accuracy of the projectile weaponry can significantly decrease the unwanted deaths caused by the inaccuracies of the missile systems, which the delegate certainly believes is the goal of all nations. Some nations may claim that it is better for nations just to ban the drones since inaccurate firing of the missiles does not occur as much on manned aerial vehicle. But those nations are ignorant of the fact that the continuous development of drone technologies can eliminate this inaccurate firing of missiles. Moving into one of the most controversial topics, the delegate would like to bring the House's attention to Clause 3, which requests the nations to set a drone-free zone within its own boundaries so that any and all military or surveillance drones can't be flown within those drones during the time of peace. The delegate believes that there are more drawbacks in utilizing surveillance drones in high-density civilian sectors than benefits because the psychological damage that the surveillance drone can have upon civilians outweigh the possibility of drones catching a criminal. In addition, with the current technologies, there are only a minute possibility that the drones will be able to ensure the safety of the civilians through surveillance since it is impractical to fly drones for 24 hours covering most of the densely populated regions. Therefore, for the aforementioned reasons, the delegate would like to ask for the other delegates' support on this clause as well. Lastly, the delegate would like to introduce Clause 8 to this assembly because of the critical role that this clause plays in this resolution. This clause persuades private profit-driven drone production corporations to provide drones to the authorized government and move away from being profit-oriented, which will prevent drone technologies from entering into the wrong hands to a certain extent. The delegate believes that any profit-driven corporation should not be trusted entirely, since they are very likely to put their interests before the public's safety and therefore should be encouraged and persuaded to be less profit-oriented. If these military drones are fallen into the terrorist's hand because of private corporations selling it to them just for profit, the civilian casualties caused by it can be massive. Therefore, the delegate is in full support of this clause. In conclusion, the delegate believes that holistically, this resolution strikes a perfect balance between having too much or too less regulation on both surveillance and combat drones, which makes this resolution appealing to most of the delegates. Therefore, the delegate believes that this resolution should pass without any doubt.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? The delegate of France, Canada, Indonesia, USA, and Egypt. You have been recognized in that order.
For information.
Granted.
In a delegation of Russia, give this delegate the definition of armed conflict.
There can be different, armed conflicts are, it depends on the perspectives of country, and the delegate believes that any conflict, in the delegate stance, the delegate believes any conflict causing civilian casualties and which involves ammunitions will be considered as armed conflicts.
Granted.
This clause 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, and 9 pertain to anything on the regulation in the setting of armed conflict, where the clauses seem to be just regulating the product of the drone itself rather than regulating the actions of a drone within an armed conflict.
The delegate believes that even a drone itself is the regulation of drones in regard the delegate believes that the regulation of drone itself is important in order to deploy them in armed conflicts, because without any normal regulation of armed conflicts, the drones cannot be entirely trusted in deploying them into armed conflicts.
Canada?
Point of information.
Granted.
The delegate of Russia has stated that there would be psychological damage to civilians due to these drones. What evidence does the delegate have of the psychological damage?
There have been several researches done that have shown the surveillance to certain civilians. The surveillance have caused them discomfort and psychological damage, although they may not be as huge.
Indonesia?
Point of information.
Granted.
Is the delegate of Russia aware that mentioned in clause number 8 it will prevent the private organization to be less private oriented, but does the delegate aware that it will cause monopoly of drone technology in a single country and making it impossible for other countries to introduce drone technology to themselves?
The delegate is not aware of the fact that it will cause drone companies monopolies. The delegate believes cooperation between private corporations and the nation will indeed go against monopoly, and the delegate believes that even though if there is a possibility that the monopoly will be even though there's a possibility of drone monopoly, it is possible for the nations that have developed to support the less developed nations in drone technology.
US?
Point of information.
Granted.
The resolution is mostly focusing on the regulation of drones. In what cases can surveillance drones be used?
The delegate believes that surveillance drones can be only used in combat regions for strategical purposes. For example, a nation's military may send in surveillance drone in order to watch the enemy's base. However, the delegate believes those surveillance drones should be considered as combat drones, and that surveillance of civilians should not be accepted with drones.
Thank you.
The delegate of Egypt? Granted.
On clause 1, it mentions that request the technological advanced nations to research and improve combat accuracy. And does the delegate see the research as short-term or long-term?
The delegate believes any research pertaining to short-term or long-term that can benefit, that can increase the accuracy of the projectile weaponry does benefit all nations and civilians.
Granted.
And until the accuracy is improved, what drone will the nations be using?
The delegate believes currently, because of the inaccuracies, the drones can be hugely implemented, but because of the rapidly increasing technology, the delegate believes the implementation of drones can slowly increase as with the increase of with the technological advances.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any other points of information on the floor? The delegate of Mexico, Egypt, Cuba, China, have been recognized. And Turkey. Granted.
As the delegate of Russia stated about drone-free zones, our rural area of nations such as farmland regions are be set as drone-free zones.
According to the clause, it states calls for nations to set a drone-free zone, and the delegate believes that it is solely dependent on the nation to set this, whether the nations are going to set the suburbans or the rural areas as a drone-free zone.
Delegate of Egypt. Granted.
Does the delegate of Russia aware that the Ukraine terrorism groups also have surveillance drones and is planning to use it as towards Russia?
The delegate believes surveillance drones from Ukraine are extremely ineffective and can be struck down within seconds. And the delegate believes that surveillance drone isn't a huge threat to the nation's security.
Delegate of Cuba. Granted.
In clause 6, strongly recommend instances for the manufacturing of quality drones and elements that import with the current financial situation in ways such as one not limited to, as well as subclause B, providing monetary funds. Is the delegate of Russia aware that certain non-governmental organizations could also provide the funding?
Yes, the delegate is aware, and the delegate believes that action can be done without implementing a clause specifically dedicated to NGOs.
China. Granted.
The issue mentioned about setting up a universal solidarity clause number 9. However, you mentioned nothing about international negotiation clause. Therefore, in what way would the universal solidarity clause not be set up?
May the chair restate.
May the delegate please restate his question in a more concise manner.
The issue mentioned about setting up a universal solidarity clause number 9. However, it mentioned nothing about international negotiation in this clause. Therefore, in what way would the universal solidarity clause not be set up?
The delegate believes that universal standards are necessary, even though there's no international negotiation-related clauses here, because all of the previous clauses apply to military drones, which there isn't a set standard currently. Therefore, the delegate believes this setting up of standard is necessary in order to implement this resolution.
The delegate is not the answer. The delegate is asking for how it is set up, not
There will be no direct communication between delegates.
The delegate apologizes for the delegate's mistake, and the delegate believes this setting up of standards can vary, and the delegate believes it can be done in different UN conferences, and that these standards can differ every year by year because of the technological advances that occur. And
Delegate of Turkey.
Point of information.
Granted.
The delegate of Russia previously stated that they would fully support fighting terrorism in Central Asia in regards to RASCO. Would Russia's armed forces use drones in Central Asia?
The delegate will utilize combat drones to an extent that it will not severely affect civilian safety.
Follow-up?
Granted.
Wouldn't the delegate of Russia agree that using armed drones in Central Asia be maybe ineffective?
The delegate does not believe that using combat drones in Central Asia is ineffective. The delegate believes the only obstacle of implementing that policy is getting approval from the Central Asian nation for using the combat drones.
Thank you, Delegate. Will the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
Motion to extend amount of point of information.
Denied due to time constraints.
The delegate will yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. The floor is now open to any delegate wishing to speak for this resolution. Are there any on the floor? The delegate of Iraq and Germany, you have been recognized in that order. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, the resolution to the regulation on drones should not be a complete elimination of drones, but to place restrictions to control the usage. The delegate of Iraq is strongly supportive of this resolution due to several reasons. First of all, the resolution takes into concern of armed drones not performing accurately, trying to decrease civilian death by improving drone technology. Secondly, the resolution allows all nations to negotiate together upon standards on drones regulations. The delegate would like to redirect the House's attention to subclause A. This subclause includes a reason for cooperation that is not often pointed out, and it is a good reason, since that there has been increasing reports on terrorist groups in the Middle East modifying commercial drones to fight against government and peacekeeping troops. The delegate believes that by encouraging limitations on commercial combat drones, this would decrease the pressure on military air forces and greatly decrease the possible civilian casualties. Overall, this resolution provides limitations preventing negative effects of drones while allowing countries to be equipped with certain drones in use of self-defense and fighting against terrorism. And the delegate of Iraq strongly encourages all countries to vote for this resolution.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information? Any and all? The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? The delegate of France, you have been recognized.
More information.
Granted.
The following delegate's country, which is Iraq, has previously experienced ISIS dropping bombs with drones within Iraq. Then why would the following delegates support this resolution where it enhances the technology of the drones and might cause a higher threat into the delegate's country?
The delegate would first like to point out that Iraqi air forces are also using military drones to fight against ISIS. So this will be extremely helpful for Iraqi air forces to gain control in Iraq air. And secondly, this resolution also prevents trade, especially with drones leaking into terrorist groups such as ISIS.
Follow-up?
Granted.
Although the resolution does speak on the drones not getting traded to the wrong hands, how is the delegate going to fully ensure that the terrorists are not going to get their hands onto the drones from the black market?
First of all, the delegate believes that currently ISIS is only using commercial drones, but not military drones. So there should be more restrictions on the trading of commercial drones, especially in Iraq.
Thank you, delegate.
Are there any more points of information on board? The delegate of, please show your, the delegate of South Korea, please.
Point of information.
Granted.
Is the delegate aware of if commercial combat drone corporations are no longer being profit-oriented, there will be less motivation and progress on improving and developing those technologies?
Can the delegate speak in a louder manner? Okay, the delegate please rephrase his question in a more audible manner.
Is the delegate aware of if commercial combat drone corporations are no longer being profit-oriented, there will be less motivation and progress on improving or developing drone technology?
The delegate believes that there are countries and organizations who are currently working on the technology development of drones, which corporations who are developing drones are less significant in this issue.
Thank you, delegate. Will the delegate yield the floor back to the chair? The delegate yields the floor back to the chair. The delegate of Germany. Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Please begin.
Honorable Chair and esteemed delegates, the delegate of Germany would like to stress the importance of Clause 3 of this resolution. Thank you. Setting drone-free zones in densely populated areas is not easy to accomplish, but once accomplished, the rate of both intended and unintended civilian casualties will be decreased by a significant amount. And we believe this will lead to the general safety of civilians and their properties, which is the core aim of Germany and the UNDC. The shocking speed of drone technology development is not only a growth of danger, it also enables the opportunity for our world to develop danger prevention technologies in cooperation with international regulation of militarized drones. This procedure of setting drone-free zones will be included in the regulations of the MDRU, the Military Drone Reliability Unit, mentioned by the delegate of Russia. And this drone-free zone technology is already developed and effective use in another field on unmanned aerial flights in the field of videography drones. Used for leisure and entertainment purposes, drone-free zones have been set to prevent the invasion of personal privacy, air traffic interference, and government security. These drone-free zones are in areas like military bases and airports, and the system prevents them from entering these areas, and the drones will be systematically locked in air and forced to lower altitude until landing. Delegate of Germany believes that if we could integrate and utilize this technology for disarmament purposes for militarized drones, both surveillance and on drones, we can use GPS and other computer systems to prevent military drones into entering highly populated areas. And through that, we can disable dangerous weapons from entering highly populated areas such as urban and suburban areas. Germany has the ability to design such technology. As the technology matures with financial aid from Saudi Arabia,
Okay, please come to your closing remarks.
Delegate of Germany believes that this clause will be effective in preventing civilian casualties. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any of all?
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? The delegate of Canada, Brazil, please show your card. Greece, and Egypt. You have been recognized in that order. Granted.
The delegate has stated that they will use GPS and other technologies to create drone-free zones. However, is there any measures against those technologies being hacked and then military drones being able to enter the drone-free areas?
The delegate of Germany believes that there definitely are possibilities of being hacked, but this drone-free zones is set, and it will eliminate some drones from entering civilian populated areas. So this will not be a negative solution. And also, as the technology develops, as Russia mentioned, hacking vulnerability will get decreased, and the safety of this drone-free zone will increase.
Granted.
The delegate said vulnerability will decrease. However, like we are talking about like the current situation, and if currently if the hacking vulnerability is high, what kind of measures will Germany and other countries take to prevent hacking? Or after hacking has been done, what will they do?
First, the delegate of Germany would like to stress that the situation now, if we set drone-free zones will not have any negative effects involving hacking, since now there are no drone-free zones in terms of militarized drones. And also, if the drone-free zones are hacked, we will use military countermeasures.
Brazil? Granted.
Does the delegate agree that with proper restrictions, surveillance drones can actually be greatly beneficial?
The delegate of Germany does agree that the surveillance drones are beneficial if they are used to surveil militaries and to ensure border security. But the delegate believes that the use of surveillance drones against civilians is extremely invading to the human right of privacy, and that it should not be promoted.
Point of information.
Granted.
How does the delegate of Germany hope to keep the drone-free area secure from what does it agree?
Sure.
Secure the drone-free area other than using GPS and other navigation.
As the delegate from Russia mentioned we're going to set up the MDRU, the Military Drone Reliability Unit, checking standards for drone design and manufacture. And it will be an international standard that all military drones has to follow, which will include the usage of global positioning systems and other computer systems to ensure and to systematically prevent them from entering these highly populated drone-free areas.
Egypt? The delegate of Egypt. Will the delegate? Yes?
Motion to extend both clarification.
Objection. Objection.
Due to the amount of objections, this motion does not pass. Delegate, would the delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
We'll now move into time allotted for speakers speaking against this resolution. Are there any on the floor? Delegates wishing to speak against.
Motion to extend a floor speech.
Objection.
For the circuit.
Are there objections? Seeing as there are objections, it's overruled, and we'll now move into time allotted for speakers against this resolution. Are there any delegates who speak against? Delegate of Yemen, could you please show your placard in a visible manner? USA and France, you've been recognized in that order. Delegate of Yemen, please approach the podium to make your speech against this resolution. Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates. The delegation of Yemen greatly respects the detailed regulations Russia has proposed in an attempt to redirect attention to the safety of drone activities, but would appreciate further clarification on the following points. Please look at, with me, the delegation, at Clause 1, Subclause A. 1. Where is the source information that drone technology inaccuracies have been the primary reason for civilian casualties, and not something like corrupt, mentally disturbed military enforcements? Are armed drones not precision-based missiles? How much more accurate can we get? The delegation of Yemen needs clarification on this point before allowing for massive changes in the country with drone-free zones being implemented, especially since a great deal of drones are used daily in Yemen, yet virtually no progress has been made in ridding of terrorist organizations. 2. Furthermore, the delegation of Yemen is also concerned with harnessing their own drones. For the past few years in our ongoing civil war, Yemen has relied on other developed countries such as the United States in not just supplementing, but using drones on our country. Not only is this a concern due to unreliability overseas, but Yemen believes that it would take some responsibility away from Yemen in their own war. Yemen would like to develop their own drones as well, and is concerned that the regulations depicted here will prohibit such a thing, and only supports countries that already have prominent military presence. Though Yemen greatly appreciates the efforts developed countries have made to help in wars abroad, Yemen does not think they are alone in saying that they want more control over internal affairs. And lastly, with the inclusion of Clause 9, commercialized drones may be abused in order to violate regulations, and that this shift in interest might cause more problems than not, with harder to detect illegal weapons roaming around. This delegate does not believe that the resolution has shown a proper response to this potential effect, and does not feel secure signing off on it until these concerns are alleviated in one form or another. Thank you, fellow delegates and honorable chairs. I will take any and all points of information.
Are there any points of information on the floor? Delegates of Russia, France. Delegates of Russia and France have been recognized in that order. Granted.
One of the concerns that the delegate of Yemen has mentioned was the use of commercial drones. Will the delegate specify how the drones that are the size of a human's head can be abused in order to kill kill civilians?
My apologies. To answer that, I would like to point out an analogy. because for the longest time in bicycling, Lance Armstrong was not discovered to be using drugs simply because he had used something much more advanced than the current regulations could see. If we're going through with these regulations, we have to prepare for further technology developments trying to promote illegal activity. And personally, the delegate of Yemen does not believe this is the time for that. This is not the time to be concerned about illegal drones being used, especially with the inclusion of commercialized drones. There can already be a foreseeable new focus on abusing commercialized drones.
Follow-up? Therefore, is the delegate claiming that a small-sized commercial drone that cannot sustain flying for more than 1.5 hours can be a severe threat to the national security?
Yes.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of France. Brandon.
How does the clause 1 of the resolution, or even after the specification to be made, is going to contribute to armed conflict, where it is only specifying on the research and improvement of the product of drones itself, which may cultivate further problems of armed conflict?
Could the delegate please rephrase his
There will be
question?
no direct conversation between delegates. Could the delegate
Could the chair
rephrase his question?
How does the clause 1 of the resolution, or even after the specification to be made, is going to contribute to armed conflict, where it is only specifying on the research and improvement of the product of drones itself, which may cultivate further problems of armed conflict?
The delegate believes that the intention of this resolution was, in fact, to promote self-defense rather than conflict. My question was that the delegate's question was that where is the source information that these inaccuracies have caused casualties? The concern is that because there is so much focus on limiting the potential of armed drones in this resolution, this delegate does not see any clear evidence that the casualties that have occurred due to drones have been because of inaccuracies with the drone itself. How is it not?
Please be concise with your answer.
How is the situation not something else, such as corrupt, mentally disturbed military enforcements controlling the drones?
Thank you, delegate.
Thank you, delegate. Would the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you. Would the delegate of USA please approach the podium and make your speech against this resolution? Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Honorable chairs, esteemed delegates, the usage of drones is highly supported throughout the USA, and they are preferred for missions seen as too big a risk for humans to accomplish, and are the main weapon of choice in the fight against terrorism. Currently, drones are simply under international laws pertaining to manned aircraft. Due to the controversial views regarding the correct usage of drones, the U.S. has justified that they are currently at war with several different terrorist groups, and therefore have the right to conduct precise targeted killings carried out by drones. Stringent criteria for U.S. drone manufacturers and dealers are placed to meet requirements such as placing new export policies and ensuring that all drone end users of exports are responsible organizations. Organizations that the U.S. is a strong member of have been created to serve this purpose, as well as increased levels of transparency, which is vital to solving this issue. The United States believes that is a better solution to address this problem. Therefore, we strongly urge countries to vote against this resolution, as it does not incorporate any of the above in its clauses, and the usage of RFID technology would be riskier than stricter export policies. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
One.
The delegate has opened herself up to 1 point of information. Are there any on the floor? Delegate of China, you have been recognized. Granted.
Is the U.S. aware that Oman is sending debt in the U.S.?
May the delegate please repeat?
May the delegate please rephrase his question or state his question.
Is the U.S. aware that Oman is sending debt in the U.S.?
Yes.
Could the delegate please be more broad on his question?
So, is the U.S. aware is the U.S. aware the Oman civilian death caused by the drones in the U.S.?
Delegate, please answer. Thank you, delegate. Could the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
Motion to take POI.
Objection.
Objection.
Last is none order.
We will entertain that motion. How many POIs is the delegate suggesting to extend by?
4.
We'll only entertain two. Overruled. We'll entertain 2 more POIs. Are there any on the floor? Delegate of Greece and Iraq. You have been recognized in that order.
Point of confirmation.
Yes.
I do believe that if the delegation has stated the motion and delegation has.
Oh, the chair stands corrected. Delegate of China and Greece, you've been recognized in that order. Granted.
The delegation mentioned U.S. using drones to fight against terrorism. However, the delegation has not realized that U.S. has been destroying multiple civilian neighborhoods during its conflict against terrorism.
May the delegate
May
please?
the delegate please rephrase his question?
Certainly. The delegation stated that U.S. is currently using military drones to fight against terrorist groups. However, the delegation of the United States did not realize that U.S. drones has been destroying multiple civilian living areas during its conflict fighting against terrorism.
Yes, the delegate is aware, though their main aim is to try and stop terrorism, so we will do anything we can in order to reach that goal.
Hello?
Granted.
Then would you agree to this resolution also calls on further regulations for protecting civilians from being attacked by?
Point of information.
Granted.
Why is the U.S. still using? Why is the U.S. still being supplied with drones by privately owned companies when the military U.S. is completely against the resolution, and where the resolution has already stated that privately owned companies should be well in favor of supplying those.
The USA is for drones, but they're also against it. So in this resolution, it suggests that they're banning surveillance drones, and the US, heavily relies on surveillance drones, and that's what we're against.
Thank you, delegate. Will the delegate yield the floor back to the chair? Thank you. Delegate of France, would you please approach the podium to make your speech against this resolution?
Honorable chairs and most esteemed delegates, the delegate of France solemnly speaks against this resolution for it lacks the regulations on armed conflicts. Rather, it promotes the sale of drones through more firm trading environments, which at limited extent is going to be safe. According to the Geneva Conventions of 1949 on international humanitarian law made by the UN, clearly states that the definition of armed conflict includes international, internationalized, and non-international armed conflict. However, from the resolution as a whole, it seems like only non-international armed conflict seems to be blocked, and yet blocked at a vague extent. Also, the delegation of Russia has specified on the safety of civilians. Although I'm not saying this is wrong, the delegation of France strongly believes that the topic at focus is promoting international regulation on combat and surveillance drones in armed conflict. Therefore, the resolution is believed by the delegation of France that this is a divulgence of the original topic. And even though this may not be a divulgence from the topic, the delegation of Russia has failed to convince this delegate that the resolution is mainly on regulating armed conflict. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? Delegates of Yemen and Russia, you've been recognized in that order. Granted.
does the delegate believe that, is the delegate aware that even though this resolution stance is mainly going, is on topic due to the fact that it does provide regulations on drones that affect the powers of drones that are shared during armed conflict?
Could the delegate please rephrase this question?
Could the delegate please rephrase this
Is
question?
the delegate aware that these regulations on drones during non-armed conflict, in non-armed conflict zones can affect how drones can perform in armed conflict zones?
No, this delegate believes that there needs to separate regulation specifically on the actions of drones within the armed conflict region, rather than non-armed conflict region.
Point of information.
Granted.
Seeing as the co-submitter of this resolution is Israel, is the delegate aware that Israel is is the major exporter of drones, providing 60% of all the drone exports in the world, and therefore has reason to support this resolution? Does the delegate see that?
The delegate does see that.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate yield the floor back to the chair.
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Seeing as the speakers list speaking for against this resolution has been exhausted, we'll now move into speaking time allotted for and against this resolution. Are there any delegates who speak for or against this resolution? Please raise your flag sign. Delegates of China and Russia, you've been recognized in that order. Delegate of China, are you speaking for or against? For. Thank you. Delegate, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Fellow delegates and esteemed chair, the delegate of China believes that at the present time there is a demand for implementing laws as encouraging the technologically advanced nations to research and improve the accuracy of the projectile weaponry equipped on the drones. As this technology will decrease the death rate of unwanted civilian deaths, and the efficiency and the cost effectiveness of the drones will increase dramatically. According to SASCO, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Germany, and so forth nations has already expressed its willingness on researching drones and signed for this cause. China strongly suggests that fellow nations sitting here join this large circle. China, though as a developing nation, have the ability to afford and a welcome to manufacture and export drones with more accuracy to other fellow nations. There are Germany, in which China already expressed willingness to cooperate with. The Germany will provide the research of the drone technology, and China agreed to manufacture and export to Germany with a satisfactory price. At the same time, Saudi Arabia and UAE are also willing to provide financial support to research for accuracy of drone technology. This drone technology, on top of other causes, will further decrease the death rate dramatically and solving the problem from root. However, it requires all nations' aid. China would like to invite all of the nations to sign the clause and further promote international peace. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? The chair highly encourages delegates to ask points of information. Are there any on the floor? Seeing as there are none, would the delegate yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yield the floor back to the chair.
Would the delegate of Russia please approach the podium? Delegate of Russia, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
The delegate of Russia would like to make a speech in response to the delegate of France's speech going against for this resolution. The delegate of France has expressed the delegate's opinion that this resolution is not on par with the topic, but the delegate would like to tell all the delegates that the delegate of France is not aware that the regulation outside of the combat drones also influences the drone's performance in combat drones. For example, the delegate would now like to bring the House's attention to Clause 8. The Clause 8 limits the Clause 8 persuades the profit driven corporations to move away from being profit oriented. Although this may have to do with nothing with drone regulation and combat drones, but by doing this, it can strictly decrease the amount of combat drones falling into the terrorist hand, which limits the amount of drones employed in combat drones, which indirectly affects the amount of drones employed in combat areas. Therefore, the delegate believes this resolution is on par with the topic. Therefore, this resolution should pass.
Thank you, delegate. Is delegate open to any points of information?
Any at all.
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? Delegate of France, delegate of France and Germany, you have been recognized in that order.
For information.
Granted.
Will the delegate please specify how the resolution covers international and non-internationalized armed conflicts, which was specified in the international humanitarian law, which is signed by the following delegates?
First, the delegate would like to claim that terrorist attacks can be both international and non-international. As stated before, the delegate has claimed Clause 8 decreases the amount of combat drones that can be potentially deployed by terrorist groups in combat areas, which is both international and non-international. Therefore, the delegate believes this resolution is on par with the topic.
Granted.
The delegate has stated that the resolution is indirectly affecting the armed conflicts. Then why didn't the delegation make a resolution that is directly on armed conflict, which could have been way more effective than indirectly handling this?
The delegate believes that this movement should start with indirectly affecting the influence of drones in combat areas. If this resolution was developed with policies that directly affected the influence of drones in combat areas, there will be many nations going against this resolution, which has a very low possibility of passing.
Thank you, delegate.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Germany. Granted.
How will the delegate Russia motivate the profit-oriented drone corporations to be less profit-oriented?
As stated in Clause 8, the delegate encourages the nations to cooperate with the privately owned commercial combat drones corporation, such as signing contracts of exchange for ammunition or weaponry, such as drones and other weapons.
Thank you. Yes, delegate. We will not be entertaining any more points of information.
Motion to
Are there any seconds? Are there any objections? Seeing as there are none, how many points of information is the delegate raising to?
3.
The chair will entertain 3 more points of information. Are there any on the floor? Delegates of USA and Egypt, you've been recognized in that order.
For information.
Granted.
Seeing that private-owned sectors are often oriented to make profits, how does the delegate of Russia suggest that private-owned sectors will give up their sole purpose?
The delegate believes by signing a contract deal between the government and the privately owned drone does not let the privately owned companies to give up their profits, because just by signing the contract with the government does yield a lot of profit to the corporation.
Follow up?
Granted.
Yet the delegate still suggests corporations to move away from being profit-oriented. Why is that?
By trading and signing a contract, a set contract of trading weapons between the government and the corporation, the government can persuade the privately owned corporation to not trade with the other non-governmental groups and trade with only governmental groups, and by giving them a lot of profit, which in turn will persuade those nations to move away from being too profit-oriented, but be more concerned with the civilian safety.
Thank you, delegate. Will delegate yield the floor back to the chair? Oh, delegate of Egypt. Chair stands corrected. Granted.
Is the delegate of Russia
private companies your profit through the drone market.
Yes, therefore the delegate has claimed that those corporations can cooperate with the governments to decrease the amount of drones going into the wrong hands.
Granted.
The delegate also aware that by giving regulations to those private companies may also allow shrinking to the drone market in the future.
Could the delegate please rephrase his question?
Is the delegate of Russia also aware that by shrinking, by giving regulations to companies, private companies of LEDC countries may also shrink the drone market?
The delegate is not putting any regulations and limits on those corporations, but is encouraging the nations to cooperate with those private, profit-driven companies.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate, yield the floor back to the chair. Give you a proposal. We'll now enter a period of 3 minutes moderated caucus where the delegations may discuss amongst themselves what your stance is on this resolution. After the time is elapsed, we will move to voting procedures. You may begin. Yes.
What is the difference between moderated and
Moderated, you may not leave your seats. You may discuss with delegates, with your delegation around you.
Delegates, please not leave your seats.
France produces a lot of
The delegate of USA from Disarmament, please raise your hand.
Delegates, please don't leave your seats. Delegates, return to seat. Delegate of South Africa. Delegates, do not leave your seats. Sit down. All delegates, please sit down. Being seated outside.
여기 지나갈 때는 그냥 스켜서 지나가고 그리고 여기는 빨리 갔다가 빨리 와.
which you are beautiful at. This is not affect the ball. Delegate is not allowed to objective to especially in the UN conference when the delegate is supposed to represent the nation instead of how they should then according to the delegate's logic, international humanitarian international humanitarian law does not have anything to do with wrong. It is indirectly affecting them. It's not something now to be discussed. According to the delegate's
The House come to order. House, please come to order. House will now move into voting procedures for this resolution as a whole.
Motion to increase speaker's list.
That is not using camera shades. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this column, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in that section, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in that section, please raise your placards high.
Point of information to the chair. What are the statistics like?
That will be announced later. Divided House means that there will be no abstentions in voting. Delegates wishing to abstain on this resolution, please raise your placards high in that section. Delegates wishing to abstain in this section, please raise your placards high. Delegates wishing to abstain in this final section, please raise your placards high.
Motion to divide the House.
Objection all objections are overruled. The House is now divided. There will be no abstentions. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. The chair stands corrected. The House will now do a roll call vote. Delegate of Afghanistan?
Please speak louder.
Delegate of Australia? Delegate of Australia? Delegate of Austria? Delegate of Bangladesh? Please speak louder.
Yes.
Delegate of Belgium?
Against.
Delegate of Brazil? Delegate of Canada?
Against.
Delegation of China?
Against.
Delegation of Colombia? Delegation of Cuba?
Against.
Delegation of Egypt? Delegation of Finland? Delegation of Ethiopia? Delegation of Germany? Delegation of Uganda? Delegation of France? Delegation of Greece?
Against.
Delegation of Honduras? Delegation of Iran? Delegation of Iraq? Delegation of India? Delegation of Indonesia?
Against.
Delegation of Israel? Delegate of Italy? Delegation of Japan? Delegation of Jordan? Delegation of Kazakhstan? Delegation of Kenya? Delegation of Kuwait? Delegation of Mexico? Delegation of Malaysia? Delegation of Morocco? Delegation of Pakistan? Delegation of Philippines? Delegation of Poland? Delegation of Qatar? Delegation of Russia? Delegation of Saudi Arabia? Delegation of Singapore? Delegation of South Africa? Delegation of South Korea? Delegation of Spain? Delegation of Sudan? Delegation of Sweden? Delegation of Switzerland? Delegation of Syria? Delegation of Thailand? Delegation of Tanzania? Delegation of Tunisia? Delegation of Turkey? Delegation of Ukraine? Delegation of UAE? Delegation of UK? Delegation of Uruguay? Delegation of USA?
Against.
Delegation of Yemen?
Against.
Please wait until, please wait for the chairs to count votes. With the votes of 17 for and 36 against, this resolution does not pass. Stopping is not in order. This session is now adjourned. We will now move on to the EcoHoop Committee. Please wait for the chairs to transition.
Delegates, there has been a change of schedule. The socializing time will be taken out of the schedule, and we will continue to the EcoHoop committees. That is not in order. Overruled. Laughing is not in order, delegates. Please remain seated and be quiet for the transition. Thank you.
May the House come to order? The House will now move into the topic of global cooperation in the fight against counterfeit and pirated goods in developing nations, a resolution submitted by the delegate of Canada. Please open up the resolution, and the chair will give 3 minutes of silent reading time. Please begin. Delegates, 3 minutes of silent reading time has now elapsed. Now the delegate of Canada, please approach the podium to present her speech. Delegate has 5 minutes to present the speech. Please begin.
Honorable Chairs, esteemed delegates, and fellow guests, during this General Assembly, the delegation of Canada will extensively address the fight against counterfeit and pirated goods in developing nations through both their speech and resolution. Despite knowing that the counterfeit industry is immeasurably large and that it greatly impacts many countries' economies, the counterfeit and pirated goods in Canada still believes that manufacturers and conscious distributors of these products are in the wrong and should be punished for knowingly promoting and/or selling counterfeit goods. As the main theme of this conference, the rule of law can be very clearly applied to this resolution, as laws are being broken by all operators in this industry. The rule of law must be respected. Therefore, this resolution proposes many measures to do so, and that prevent the further expansion of counterfeit products. The delegate would now like to bring the House's attention to Clause 1, Subclause B. Canada would like to specify that the health and security standards mentioned are the ones set up by the World Customs Organization Safe Framework of Standards. Next, this delegation would like to redirect the House's attention to Clause 3, which exhibits previous attempts in tracking down pirated goods websites, where both the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the International Police have had many successes in ceasing the operation of these vendors and manufacturers. Although the FBI cannot act outside of American soil unless an agreement has been reached, this delegate is confident that following these examples is key to shutting down the counterfeit industry. In addition, the delegate would like to bring the House's attention to Clause 5, and how rather than having the United Nations overlook and force the individual nations to adhere to strict laws, the specific countries would be able to decide the length and severity of criminal procedures. Additionally, different countries will prefer to and be able to choose different sentences and sanctions, therefore deciding the harshness of such penalties depending on the gravity of the offender's crime and that of the issue in the specific countries. Finally, if the chairs would scroll down to Clause 8, Subclause B. As a semi-innovative way to dispose of already manufactured counterfeit goods, specifically clothing items, toys, basic house supplies, and appliances, the nations in which these counterfeit products have been seized would distribute them to developing nations, if the nations they are found in aren't developing already, where they may be in need. With the collaboration of all the countries here present, the delegation of Canada believes that gradually the counterfeit and pirated goods industry can be eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate of Canada has opened herself up to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Germany, delegate of China, delegate of Indonesia, delegate of Italy, delegate of Russia, delegate of USA, delegate of Brazil, delegate of France has been recognized in this order. Delegate of Germany has been recognized. Granted.
What will Canada do to countries who are unwilling to shutting down their counterfeit industries?
Will the delegate please restate the question in a more audible manner?
What will Canada do to countries who are unwilling to shut down their counterfeit industries?
The delegate would like to say that since there are many countries whose economies greatly depend on the counterfeit industry, in Clause 9, in Clause 9, Subclause C, these countries, the LEDCs who rely on the counterfeit markets would receive funds and help from MEDCs and the UN to support their economies so that they are stable when eliminating the counterfeit market.
Granted.
So the financial support that the delegate mentioned, how this kind of showed that the developing countries would accept these support in order to shut down the counterfeit industries.
Because the delegate is sure that the countries would like to eliminate the counterfeit industry because the counterfeit industry, as a matter of fact, is illegal and no country would like to have an illegal affair shown very visibly around, and so would only benefit from receiving aid from MEDCs and the UN.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of China? Granted.
How will the checkups of 100%? Presenting of China for explain how the checkups of 100% being performed in the nations.
Okay. We would necessitate in the first place the e-labeling of all products sold in the online market, so that it would be much simpler to check for whether these objects are counterfeit or not. And these requirements, if they are failed to be met, the product would not be authorized to be sold on the platform. Therefore, if objects are not legal, then they could not be sold in the first place.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Indonesia?
Point of information.
Granted.
Is the delegate aware, as in clause 9 subclause C, it mentions, the developed country will provide economic support to ensure economic stability. So is the delegate aware that eliminating counterfeit markets will bring other consequences other than economic stability problems?
Yes, the delegate is aware.
What?
Granted.
So what measures does the delegate wishes to take for this problem?
There could also be other resources provided to these countries where counterfeit markets are being eliminated. Not only economic and therefore financial aid, also psychological aid or other kinds of basic needs that citizens would require during this transition from relying on the counterfeit industry to not relying on it.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Italy? Please state the point. Granted.
Referring to clause 5, subclause 8, Italy has already implemented heavy monetary fines and economic sanctions on consumers and vendors of counterfeit goods, but this has not proven effective. How would the delegate of Canada ensure that authorizing individual nations to decide the length and severity of such penalties would be effective?
Well, the delegate of Italy only mentioned subclause B, where it mentions economic sanctions. But the delegate would also like to point out that there is subclause A, the prison sentences, that would change drastically whether people continue their production and or usage of counterfeit products. And also in the main body clause, it says penalties such as but not limited to. Therefore, the countries themselves would also be able to decide on other ways to penalize the individuals that use or produce these goods.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Russia? Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the United States?
Point of information.
Granted.
Why has the delegation of Canada not suggested national legislation against counterfeiting, as it would create a uniform reaction to counterfeiting, therefore ensuring no injustice is brought about?
There has previously been the anti-counterfeiting trade agreement, but it has stopped being in effect since July 4th, 2012, and it was because the European Parliament rejected it. Because of this example, the delegation of Canada finds that using sometimes international agreements would not be as effective as having individual countries decide what is best for their own nation.
Hello?
Granted.
How will the delegation of France ensure that nations will bring about justful laws?
The delegate would like to answer and say, on a near annual basis, UN officials would go in and check the legislations and check for arresting for. Can the delegate state their?
Yes, Delegate. The delegate of the United States, please restate the question.
Why? How will Canada ensure that legislations in other nations how will nations ensure justice in their legislation? How will Canada ensure that nations will ensure justice in their legislation?
Through annual checkups by the UN, which is in a sense a third party and not biased. So it would be more transparent, whereas if the single countries only reported on their laws, then there could be bias and there could be changes in the information they provide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Brazil. Granted.
Under Clause 7, Subclause 3, it refers to the searches of illegal factories. However, how would these illegal factories be located in the first place?
These factories have been found already in past times. Usually they are underground, both in the literal and figurative sense. Bases where counterfeit products are produced. Therefore, the main factor that would be considered when searching for illegal factories would be for suspicious activity around in an area and concentrated activity of strange imports and or exports of goods.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of France. Granted.
Does the delegate of Canada realize that most MEDCs have their own set of laws and regulations for counterfeited and pirated products?
Yes, delegate is aware.
Follow.
Granted.
By saying this, does the delegate of Canada not believe that this resolution is unnecessary for those MEDCs?
No, the delegate does not believe that, as certain laws can always be improved on, and not all laws that are currently being used are just or would correctly penalize the offenders.
Thank you, Delegate.
Motion to accept QI.
Are there any seconds? Motion denied due to overwhelming objections.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Delegate.
Is the country not allowed to, when there is two separate delegates that request their point of information, is that not allowed for one country?
As it is not allowed, as two delegations are both representing one country. Thank you, Delegate. May the delegate please yield the floor back to Chair or to another delegate?
The delegate would like to yield the floor to the delegate of Japan.
That is in order. Delegate of Japan, please approach the podium to present the speech. The delegate has a considerable amount of time. Please begin when ready.
Honorable Chairs, esteemed delegates, the delegate of Japan fully supports this comprehensive resolution to combat counterfeit and pirated goods, keeping in mind the clandestine nature of the crimes mentioned. To illustrate, 30% of all counterfeit drugs are consumed in developing nations where the lack of affordable medicines and justifiable regulations pose undeniable health threats to the affected population. Counterfeiting and piracy are also highly destructive to essentially any economy in developed nations such as Japan, as products are consistently being purchased with or without the conscious realization of the legitimacy of goods. Directing the attention to Clause 1, Subclause 8, concerning the strengthening of border control, the delegate of Japan believes that this is an imperative measure for all nations, and particularly in LEDCs, where fraudulent pharmaceuticals readily enter the market due to insufficient regulatory restrictions. The delegate of Japan would also like to direct the House's attention to Clause 8, firmly insisting on the implementation of label tracking software on all exported products, which will validate manufacturing licenses and the requirements for production. This solution will ensure the accessibility of certification at borders, allowing validated judgment to be made on whether or not goods are authorized to enter national borders. Lastly, the delegate would like to address Clause 2, the calling upon of awareness and educational campaigns. The delegate believes that with support rendered by international organizations, public health authorities, and consumer groups, the recognition from the public will contribute significantly to the declining frequency in which counterfeit products are being purchased. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is Delegate open to any points of information?
And you know.
The Delegate of Japan has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Germany? Delegate of Egypt? Delegate of Israel? Delegate of Indonesia? Delegate of Iraq? Delegate of Greece? A delegate of France has been recognized in this order. Delegate of Germany? Granted.
Does the delegate aware that by taking measures such as support by border control in Clause 1 and the investigation into illegal in Clause 7 subclause B would involve extra government spending?
Could the delegate speak in a more audible manner?
Ms. Delegate of Germany, please restate the question in a more audible manner.
Is the delegate aware that by taking measures such as to fortify borders control and to conduct investigation into illegal factories would involve extra
Government spendings? The delegate is aware, and if the delegate would refer to Clause 9, which calls upon developed nations to provide assistance to LADCs, and this would basically respond to nations that would require financial assistance in regards to fighting against counterfeit goods. As for developed nations, already they would be assumed to be able to afford such measures.
Granted.
Since it doesn't state any financial support from organizations, how would the government address the issue?
The government could address the issue in ways of awareness and educational campaigns, as well as with the help of organizations such as the WHO or other international organizations.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Egypt has been recognized. Granted.
In the Clause 8, that requires all nations to develop and implement legal tracking software. However, the delegate specifies what kind of legal tracking software is it that they're talking about?
The delegate is talking about, the delegate is meaning in regards to label tracking software, barcodes that would be placed on exported goods and which will be scanned in at cross borders to ensure that the origin and the production of the goods will be visible for national border security.
Granted.
The delegate also aware of the consequences of using the label tracking software as hackers may even change or even make counterfeit from the label.
The delegate would suggest further technological research into such measures, but as for now, the delegate firmly believes that tracking software would be necessary.
Thank you, Delegate. Okay, delegates, from now on, the chair will entertain votes for motions. So in order to a motion to pass, it has to be voted as a simple majority. Thank you. Delegate of Israel has been recognized. Granted.
For Clause 9, for Clause 8, can the delegate please specify how the delegate is willing to limit the production and export of currency?
The purpose of Clause 9 is to support LADCs as in LADCs, countries may not have the financial support to be not relying on counterfeit goods. So as a result, if developing countries are helping LEDCs in a financial manner, then LEDCs can limit their reliance on counterfeit goods, and in result, regulating the limit of the production and exports.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Indonesia.
Point of information.
Granted.
May the delegate specify the comprehensive inspection mentioned in clause 1 subclause A subclause III?
The delegate would also like to infer back to the software tracking services, and for this clause, the delegate would suggest several measures in ensuring these subclauses to be met. So as for subclause III, as the delegate has mentioned, the comprehensive inspections towards manufacturers will be present on the official licenses of the codes that are attached to the goods.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Iraq. Granted.
As in clause 9, subclause B, may the delegate explain how imported goods with lower prices from more developed countries can be ensured that it will only help eliminate counterfeit markets, but not disturb less developed countries' economic stability and limit the development of those countries, as these exported goods are more competitive in markets than the local ones.
Could the delegate please restate the question?
May the delegate please restate the question in a more concise manner?
Since that these goods with lower prices from more developed countries are more competitive in market compared to local ones produced by less developed countries, how can the delegate ensure that these lower prices exported goods will only ensure to eliminate counterfeit markets but not disturb the economics of these countries?
The lower prices of legitimate goods would ensure that developing countries are not dangerously consuming products that may affect their health.
Granted.
But if these less developed countries are producing the similar goods as more developed countries are, and if the similar products imported from more developed countries are cheaper than the ones that these countries produce themselves, then will this disturb their market?
The delegate would like to refer back to clause 9 once again, as if the combat against counterfeit goods affects local markets of LEDCs, developing nations and MEDCs would render support to such markets.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Greece has been recognized.
Point of information.
Granted, and please do not rise before the chair grants the point. Granted.
Does the delegate realize that Pangea 8 was a recent operation against illegal medicines and other counterfeit goods online?
The delegate is aware.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of France has been recognized.
For information.
Granted.
May the delegation of Japan please specify the functions of the FBI and how the UN General Assembly is going to force the FBI to take actions as suggested in clause 3 subclause A.
To clarify clause 3 subclause A and the FBI, what this clause really generally suggests is that nations can follow previous measures by organizations such as the FBI, because the FBI cannot operate across its own country. So the delegate of Japan is not saying that the FBI will be obligated to do anything in the international sense, but to follow their previous regulations.
Granted.
On what extent of authorization does the UN General Assembly have to force a foreign intelligence agency to take actions when FBI only takes direct orders from the American government?
Could the delegate restate the question?
May the delegate please restate the question in a more concise manner?
On On what extent of authorization does the UN General Assembly have to force a foreign intelligence agency to take actions when FBI only takes direct orders from the American government?
The countries that are taking actions, the delegate of Japan would like to suggest that countries take measures according to their own policies and situations. As to examples set by the FBI or Interpol, it would be to their own judgment.
Delegate's answer has not been answered.
The delegate's question has not been answered.
May the delegate please rephrase his question.
Yes, delegate, please rephrase the question.
Does the UN General Assembly have or have not the authorization to request the American government to have the FBI work?
No. And the delegate is not stating that what the delegate of
Thank you, delegate.
Yeah.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any more points of information in the House? Delegate of the United States, delegate of Russia, delegate of China, delegate of Turkey, and delegate of Afghanistan has been recognized in this order.
Point of information.
Granted.
What does the delegate of Japan suggest as an alternative to media, seeing that many nations lack the resources to promote such actions or have media that is often misleading or independent of the government?
The delegate suggests the promotion and awareness of international organizations, like awareness campaigns, which will be in the international sense and will certainly be legitimate for all countries and not misleading.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Russia. Granted.
Does the delegate of Japan see that providing the FBI work powers to get the power of goods, will give it a power, that's basically give it power over all of the world's media.
Would the delegate please restate the question?
May the delegate please restate the question in a more concise manner?
In this resolution, it's mentioned that the FBI must be attracting most international direct power to because including media. Does the delegate of Japan see that, like, this resolution basically gives the FBI power to shut up any media?
Once again, the delegate of Japan would like to restate what the delegate of Japan was trying to say to the previous delegate in terms of it's not the FBI doesn't have control over what countries are, the delegate of Japan is simply stating that countries can refer to actions taken by the FBI or other such organizations in previous actions. So in this case, the FBI would have no such control as the delegate has mentioned.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of China. Granted.
How could European nations with free border trade be able to follow the stable consequences of origination of order?
Could the delegate restate the question?
The delegate please restate the question in a more concise manner.
How could certain European nations with free border trade be able to follow the stable consequences of origination of order?
The delegate of Japan strongly urges fortifying border controls. However, since the delegate of Japan also suggests nations adopting the laws suggested according to their own regulations, certain differences in border regulation may be different for European countries. However, the fortifying border control is still highly recommended.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Turkey. Granted.
If people only rely on the product, how can they recover the gap between the people and
Could the delegate please restate the question in a more audible manner?
May the delegate please restate the question in a more audible manner?
Could the delegate refer to a certain clause?
The delegate please refer to a certain clause.
People cannot, they don't have enough money to buy a product. How can countries recover?
Once again, during the transition of relying on counterfeit goods, most notably in developing nations, the delegate of Japan would strongly urge MEDCs and also developed countries in helping countries in need in transitioning successfully and not hurting their economy.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Afghanistan. Granted.
Okay, so the byproduct of ensuring the safety and legitimacy of goods will be the seizure of still usable products such as clothing, and very limited to a few types of products such as clothing, toys, and daily health supplies and appliances. And the delegate of Japan would urge a thorough chemical security examination of all products seized before any products will be given out to.
Granted.
This question has not been answered, seeing as the group is trying to ask, who is exactly going to determine whether or not the nation actually needs to work itself for trading purpose?
The nations that require such assistance could request such measures from the UN.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any more points of information in the House? Seeing as there's none, delegate, please yield the floor back to the chair.
The delegate yields the floor back to chair.
Thank you, delegate. The House will now commence an open debate session. 15 minutes for, 15 minutes against this resolution as a whole. The House will now move into the session speaking for this resolution as a whole. Are there any delegates wishing to be added to the speakers list? Delegate of Thailand? Delegate of Sweden? Delegate of Egypt? Delegate of USA? Delegate of Singapore? Delegate of Colombia? Delegate of UAE? Delegate of Honduras? Delegate of Brazil? And delegate of China? And delegate of Philippines have been recognized in this order. Delegate of Thailand has been recognized. Please approach the podium to present the speech. Delegate has 2 minutes to make the speech. Please begin when ready. Please begin.
Honored chairs and esteemed delegates, the delegate of Thailand strongly support this resolution because counterfeiting and piracy are detrimental to innovation, directly affecting job creation and economic growth. Industries protect their ideas through a variety of legal instruments such as patents, copyrights, designs, models, and trademarks. And without the protection of their intellectual property rights, they may be less inclined to develop new ideas and products. Risks are particularly high for industry in which the research and development costs are high compared to the production costs to finalize products, for example, such as pharmaceuticals products. And faced with diminishing turnover due to the counterfeiting and piracy, industry investment in research and innovation could well slow down. And this limit development, growth, and competitiveness, and forcing industry to simply close to or at least limit production. And therefore, Thailand encourages to vote for this resolution for the sake of alleviating this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any at all?
Delegate of Thailand has opened himself up to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only be entertaining 3. Are there any in the House? Seeing as there's none, will Delegate please yield the floor back to the chair? Thank you, Delegate. The next speaker on the speakers list is the Delegate of Sweden. Please approach the podium. The chair would like to announce that speech time has been decreased to 60 seconds due to time constraints. Delegates has 60 seconds. Please begin when ready.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, recognizing that countries should concur and collaborate to reduce the amount of pirated products, Sweden fully supports this resolution paper and wants to draw the House's attention to clause 1 and 9. By fortifying border controls and negotiating to lowering the prices on goods exported to LEDCs will ensure the reduction of counterfeiting goods reliably, sufficiently, and diminish at maximum extent. Thus, Sweden firmly supports this resolution, specifically trusts it will be potently informing all countries in this House to reach on a concurrence of fighting against counterfeiting products, and to help stitch the pieces of the world markets that have been torn apart by pirated goods together. Most importantly, Delegate of Sweden would like to call upon all delegates in this House to vote for this resolution paper as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate of Sweden has opened himself up to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only be entertaining 3. Are there any in the House? Delegate of France has been recognized. Granted.
Does the delegate of Sweden not agree that the people who created the product should be able to regulate what price it should be at and not the government?
Can the delegate of France restate his question in a concise manner?
May the delegate of France please restate the question in a more concise manner.
Yes. Does the delegate of Sweden not believe that the people who make the products which are not counterfeited should have their own regulations on prices and not be controlled by the government?
Sweden believes that since counterfeiting products happening all around the world, and Sweden would like to bring up an annual meeting in the EU and will discuss further about the counterfeiting products, and will ensure at least pirated goods found in Sweden as possible.
The delegate of France believes that the delegate of France's question has not been answered.
As one of the main reasons that counterfeit products exist is because the prices are not affordable for general public. Sweden will, and as in association with other countries such as UAE and USA, will make sure companies communicate and cooperate with each country's customs and to reach on a consensus on the prices that each company has had tagged.
Granted.
Does the delegate of Sweden realize that the delegate of Sweden mentioned lowering the prices for LEDCs, not just the general developing countries?
Sweden is aware of that.
Thank you. Are there any more points of information in the House? Seeing as there's none, will delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Egypt has been recognized. Please approach the podium. Delegate has 60 seconds to present his speech. Please begin when ready.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegate, the delegate of Egypt is grateful that the delegate of Canada developed this resolution, as many LEDC countries in Africa are having trouble trying to contain the counterfeit products going around the market. And the delegate is also glad that the resolution stated the nation itself have the authority for strength and severity of criminal legitimacy. As a delegate, we recommend all the delegates to vote for this resolution.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
3 points of information.
delegate has opened himself up to 3 points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only be entertaining 2. Are there any in the House? Delegate Greece has been recognized.
Point of information.
Granted.
The delegate of Egypt. The delegate of Egypt realized that in East Africa there are issues related to counterfeiting and piracy.
Yes, please rephrase the question.
May the delegate please rephrase the question, and there will be no direct conversation between delegates.
Does the delegate of Egypt realize the fact that in East Africa there are issues concerning counterfeiting goods and piracy?
Yes, the realized that.
Thank you, delegate. Is there any more points of information in the House? Delegate of Panama has been recognized. France has been recognized. Granted. The delegate, please rephrase the question in a more concise manner.
How does this resolution give any sort of elaboration, like on the global cooperation of the less economically developed countries?
As the delegate just mentioned, many countries in Africa of the LEDC, which should be most of the countries, are having problems with counterfeit. As for example, the country of Egypt, 6% of the economic market in Egypt is actually of counterfeit products.
Thank you, delegate. Will delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate will yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of the United States has been recognized. Please approach the podium to present the speech. The delegate has 60 seconds to present his speech. Please begin when ready.
Honorable Chair, esteemed delegates. According to the OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, USA had 20% of the total seizures of pirate goods in 2013, being in the first place in the world. Abating the counterfeiting on the online trading is significant in addressing the counterfeiting and piracy. The U.S. will alert the public of the internet fraud and potential counterfeiting in e-commerce companies as mentioned in Clause 7, Subclause C. USA will check for counterfeiting products in online trade companies, for instance, eBay, Alibaba, and Amazon. Furthermore, USA has an organization that made previous actions in regards to tracking and shutting down pirate goods and websites such as FBI, and is willing to further extend on the actions mentioned in Clause 8. USA believes that through this process, USA can be beneficial of the decrease in the impact from counterfeit, such as but not limited to an online trading of USA.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
1 point of information.
The delegate of the United States has opened himself to 1 point of information. Is there anything in the House? The delegate of Afghanistan has been recognized. Granted.
Seeing as counterfeit products is one of the main things comes with U.S. online stores such as Amazon and eBay, so how will the United States deal with the possible job loss due to the shutting down of these online stores?
USA had organizations such as FBI to extend on previous actions in regarding to tracking and shutting down pirate goods.
The delegate's question have not been answered. The delegate may reply in note form.
Delegates will reply in note form.
Thank you, delegate. Will delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
Delegate yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Singapore has been recognized. Please approach the podium to present the speech. Delegate has 60 seconds to present her speech. Please begin when ready.
The delegation of Singapore fully supports and approves of this resolution in all perspectives and has already attempted many of the clauses proposed, such as having an anti-counterfeit campaign. and is working towards implementing clauses 1, 3, and 6. The delegation of Singapore wholeheartedly believes that one of the most effective ways of controlling counterfeit and pirated goods is through stricter border control and inspections of exported and imported goods. The delegation of Singapore strongly agrees with Clause 6 and believes that websites selling counterfeit and pirated goods should be eliminated as effectively as possible, considering that the 40% of counterfeit goods in the largest counterfeit good exporter are sold online. The delegate of Singapore applauds the delegates of Canada and Japan for Clause 7, subclause B. The delegate
Please come to your closing remarks.
The delegate of Singapore recommends all delegates to vote for this resolution as a whole to put an end to counterfeit and pirated goods.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate open to any points of information.
The delegate is open to 2 points of information.
The delegate of Singapore has opened herself up to 2 points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only be entertaining 1. Is there any in the House? Delegate of Egypt has been recognized. Granted.
Is the delegate of Singapore willing to cooperate with the other nations to control the exports and imports of the counterfeit goods?
The delegation of Singapore is very willing to cooperate as counterfeit goods not only hurt Singapore's economy, but many economies worldwide.
Thank you, Delegate. Will the Delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Colombia has been recognized. Please approach the podium to present your speech. Delegate of Colombia has 60 seconds to present her speech. Please begin when ready.
Honorable chairs, esteemed delegates. The delegate of Colombia highly supports this resolution because, firstly, it doesn't only focus on stopping the counterfeit goods, but also on educating the public. If the House could look at Clause 2, it states that it calls upon all nations to educate citizens on the potential harms of counterfeit products and how to protect against them through different methods. This is important because some of the people that might not get educated might not think of counterfeit goods as a bad thing and will later on start selling them. Secondly, the delegate of Colombia supports this clause because it lets the nations pay consequences of selling pirated goods. Therefore, not all nations have to agree on the same penalties as they are customizable.
Please come to your closing remarks.
If the House may bring their attention to Clause 5, it states that it authorizes individual nations to decide the length and severity of criminal procedures and penalties. The delegate of Colombia hopes you can all support this resolution as it is beneficial to our society.
The delegate open to any points of information.
Any and all.
The delegate of Colombia has opened herself to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only be entertaining 1. Is there any in the House? Delegate of Greece has been recognized.
Point of information.
Granted.
The delegate of Colombia realized that in clause 2 there is no mention of social media where most people are online to look at. Where most people are online and look at this for news and information.
The delegate of Colombia is aware.
Hold up.
Denied due to time constraints. Thank you, delegate. Delegate, please yield the floor back to the chair.
The delegate yields the floor back.
Thank you, delegate.
Delegate of UAE, you have been recognized. Please approach the podium to present your speech. Delegate, you have 60 seconds to present your speech. You may begin when ready.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, the UAE strongly supports this resolution and is devoted in working towards clause number 2 and 9 with the UN authorities to contribute in reducing the making of counterfeit products across the globe and in protecting and fixing international network and marketing infrastructure. As one of the top sources of counterfeit goods, eliminating the fake markets and improving citizens' awareness in the UAE will lead to less piracy around the globe. Thus, the government is starting official educational campaigns to raise awareness for the dangers posed by counterfeit products, along with further details. Units of IPR, intellectual property rights, has already been established in the UAE as clause number 6 suggests, but is not necessarily enforced as effectively, which the UAE will emphasize on. DOE will carefully conduct regular inspections at trade centers, markets, and factories to eliminate illegal factories and online distributors manufacturing the counterfeit versions of brands with action. DOE calls
Delegate, please make your
upon
closing remarks.
all nations with exports or imports of counterfeited or pirated products to do the same
Thank
for
you,
the
Delegate.
benefit of, thank you,
Is the delegate open to any points of information?
and in all.
The delegate is open herself to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only entertain one with no follow-ups. Are there any in the House? Seeing as there is none, would the delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Honduras, you've been recognized. Please approach the podium to present your speech. Delegate, you have 60 seconds to present your speech and you may begin when ready.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, Honduras supports and suggests delegates to vote for this resolution as a whole, and delegate would like to direct House attention to Clause 8, Subclause 8. Encouraging developed nations to provide legitimate, legal, safe, and effective pharmaceuticals to developing nations. Providing pharmaceuticals to developing nations can ensure the health of people in developing nations and strengthen the force against the counterfeit and pirated goods, since the people in developing nations are the main consumers of the counterfeit medicines. This resolution does not only simply give ways to reduce counterfeit goods and MEDCs, it also provides resolutions for LEDCs to against these counterfeit goods without hugely loss of the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
One point of information.
The delegate is open herself to one point of information. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Sweden, you've been recognized. Granted.
What are the benefits that this resolution brings to Honduras?
So Honduras will receive more money from developed countries, and they will provide us more kind of medical treatments and cheaper and more affordable price. So it will ensure the health of Honduras citizens, and also to make sure they will buy any fake or counterfeit medicines.
Thank you, delegate. Will the delegate please yield the floor back to the chair? Thank you, delegate.
Motion to move into previous question.
Denied due to an extensive speakers list. Delegate of Brazil, you've been recognized. Delegate, you have 60 seconds to present your speech.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, the delegate of Brazil supports this resolution because it provides sufficient solutions to work to eliminate the current counterfeit market and also preventing further developments in counterfeit. Firstly, the delegate would like to bring the House's attention to Clause 1 regarding stricter regulations of border controls. As one common source of counterfeit products are from other neighboring nations, it is vital that imports and exports are tightly controlled. Finally, the solution is provided aim to allow both MEDCs and LEDCs to resolve the issues within their nations, with also aid provided by willing MEDCs, as illustrated in Clause 9. This will minimize the negative economic impact the elimination of the counterfeit market may have. Therefore, Brazil strongly affirms this resolution and believes it will be vital in resolving this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate is open herself to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only entertain one. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Belgium, you've been recognized. Granted.
How will this resolution benefit
Brazil is one of the largest economies that is affected by counterfeit market, and we believe that this will greatly help to alleviate the situation within our nation, as our current efforts have proved to be beneficial but not yet enough.
Thank you, delegate. Will the delegate please yield the floor back to the chair?
Points of information.
Denied due to time restraints.
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Time for this resolution has elapsed. The House will now move into speaking time against this resolution. Are there any delegates wishing to speak against this resolution as a whole? The chair will limit, due to time constraints, the chair will limit to 3 speakers. Delegate of Greece, delegate of USA, and delegate of France. You can recognize in that order.
USA. Point of order. USA is not raised.
Delegate of Yemen, the chair apologizes. Delegate of Greece, you may begin.
How long do I have?
60 seconds.
Honorable Chair, esteemed fellow delegates, the delegate of Greece would like to direct the House's attention to clause 2, and would like to state that there is no proper explanation of how social media could be used, because social media is one of the very important establishments of a community. And in clause 4, the delegate of Canada, who's the main submitter, has not properly given information on camcording motion pictures and audio works, because camcording means to record using a video recorder, and that can also be stated as someone's original work with no plagiarism. In clause 5, there are no.
Please come to your closing remarks.
There are no proper criminal procedures in Greece. The law states that people charged with counterfeit have to have a minimum imprisonment of 6 months and a fine of more than 3,000 euros. So there are no proper criminal procedures and penalties. And the delegate of Greece.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegates open themselves to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only entertain one. Are there any in the House? Delegate of USA?
For information.
Granted.
Is the delegate of Greece aware that the resolution in fact suggests it suggests criminal procedures and penalties in situations for camcording motion pictures, camcording of motion pictures, not the original production. Is the delegate aware of this?
Could the delegate please rephrase that question?
Is the delegate of Greece aware that the delegate of Canada's resolution, in fact, is stating that the nations will be penalizing individuals that camcord motion pictures, not the camcording of original pictures?
Yes, but the delegate would like to add an argument that there's not a lot of severity in these criminal procedures. There should be fines. There should also be imposed on this.
Follow up.
Denied due to time constraints. Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate willing to yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate would like to yield the floor back to the chair.
That is right. Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Yemen, you have been recognized. Delegate, you have 60 seconds to present your speech. You may begin.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, Yemen, one of the poorest countries in the world, has no room to allow for counterfeiting within country borders and supports this resolution from that stance, especially Clause 9. Iraq's interest in question about the instability of the changes to markets is the first concern this delegate would like to bring up. Lowering the prices for LEDCs is something we want, but we are concerned for the legitimacy of these products. Will the original products be put out in less quality because of these changes in order to meet more extensive demands? Primarily, though, Yemen does not see why counterfeiting and pirating is such a big deal in developed countries or MEPCs. The massive border control called for in Clause 1 does not appear to be as necessary to this delegate, seeing as the delegate of France mentioned, there are already several national laws being implemented, and developed countries are already adhering to many responsibilities.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Please, any and all.
The delegate is open himself to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only entertain one. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Belgium, you've been recognized. Granted.
The delegate aware that the counterfeit market causes billions of dollars loss in countries?
Yes.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate willing to yield for back to the chair?
Unwilling, but yielding no matter what.
Laughing is not in order. Delegate of France, you have been recognized. Please approach the podium to present your speech. You have 60 seconds.
Honorable chairs and esteemed delegates, the delegate of France believes that this resolution lacks the acknowledgement of new and startup firms who want to avoid counterfeit products. France also has its own laws and regulations, which France and other MEPCs are satisfied with, making this resolution for France, including most economically developed countries, unnecessary. Also, Clause 8 is baseless, as it does not recognize the United Nations Organization of Drugs and Crime to track counterfeited and pirated goods, including drugs used for crimes. This resolution does not even mention anti-counterfeiting trade agreement, which the co-submitter Japan as well as USA has signed. Also, this resolution does not express specifically the penalties of making counterfeited products, creating loopholes.
Delegate, please come here a little closer to
The
the mic.
delegate would like to draw the House's attention to Clause 3, Subclause A, where it encourages previous actions taken by the FBI. However, the UN General Assembly has no authorization to do so. Lastly, there is no mention for...
Thank you, Delegate. Does the delegate open any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened himself to any and all points of information. However, due to time constraints, the chair will only entertain one. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Canada, you have been recognized. Granted.
The delegate has stated that this does not affect or is not rather usable on countries such as France. But is the delegate aware of the fact that the topic is in developing nations? It's the fighting counterfeit products and pirated goods in developing nations.
The delegate of France realizes that, however, there is still no mention of global cooperation for developing nations, which is a crucial part of this topic. It only mentions MEDCs or LEDCs. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate willing to yield the floor back to the chair?
The delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Time against this resolution has elapsed. The House will now move into voting procedure on this resolution.
Motion to extend the time against.
Seconded.
Objection. Motion overruled, denied due to time constraints. Admin staff, please secure the doors and suspend all no passing. We will now conduct voting procedure. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution at this section, please raise your placards high. For this resolution. Thank you, delegates. Delegates voting to vote for this resolution on this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote for this resolution on this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution and this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote against this resolution in this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates.
Motion to divide the House.
That is not ordered. That is not ordered due to the fact that chairs have not counted all abstentions. Delegates wishing to abstain in this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to abstain in this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to abstain in this section, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates.
Motion to divide the House.
Are there any seconds?
Second.
Delegates wishing to vote for this motion, please raise your placards high. Keep your placards high. Thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote against this motion, please raise your placards high. Due to simple majority, this motion passes. The House will now be divided. Chair will now conduct a roll call vote. Delegate of Afghanistan. Delegate of Australia. Delegate of Austria. Delegate of Bangladesh. Delegate of Belgium.
4.
Delegate of Brazil.
4.
Delegate of Canada.
4.
Delegate of China.
4.
Delegate of Colombia.
4.
Delegate of Cuba.
4.
Delegate of Egypt.
4.
Delegate of Finland. Delegate of Ethiopia.
4.
Delegate of Germany.
Against.
Delegate of Uganda. Delegate of France.
Against.
Delegate of Greece.
Against.
Delegate of Honduras. Delegate of Iran. Delegate of Iraq.
Against.
Delegate of India. Delegate of Indonesia.
Against.
Delegate of Israel. Delegate of Italy. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Jordan. Delegate of Kazakhstan. Delegate of Kenya. Delegate of Kuwait. Delegate of Mexico. Delegate of Malaysia. Delegate of Morocco. Delegate of Pakistan. Delegate of Panama. Delegate of Philippines. Delegate of Poland. Delegate of Qatar. Delegate of Russia. Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegate of Singapore. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of South Korea. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of Sudan. Delegate of Sweden. Delegate of Switzerland. Delegate of Syria. Delegate of Thailand. Delegate of Tanzania. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Turkey. Delegate of Ukraine. Delegate of UAE. Delegate of the UK. Delegate of Uruguay. Delegate of USA. Delegate of Yemen.
Against.
Please go ahead and move. With 36 votes for and 17 against, this resolution passes. Clapping is in order. Denied. The chair now favorably looks upon a motion to adjourn session. Are there any in the House?
Second.
Are there any seconds? Are there any objections? Objection overruled. The session is now adjourned. Clapping is in order.
Delegates, please take your seat. The General Assembly debate today was rich and fruitful. I personally really enjoyed our delegates' debates.
Yeah, my name is Nicole, y'all can hear me. Okay, so we took committee photos yesterday. We're gonna take everyone today. So we're gonna go downstairs, the exact same place, but we're gonna do it more towards the stairway. The first shots that we're gonna take is the camera's gonna be on this floor, and wherever you stand, it does not matter. Height doesn't matter at this time. And once we do a bird's eye shot, we're gonna turn you so that you'll be doing a less. It's not a bird's eye shot. It's just a normal shot of everyone. Chairs, if you're a chair, you're going to stand so that you surround all the delegates, okay? Admin, Aaron, Eunice, Thompson, Marcel, and Nishant, you will be sitting in front, okay? Leave all your bags. Do not bring backpacks, okay? Phones, drop them, do whatever. Walk down there. If we manhandle you, we apologize.
Wait, delegates, still sit down. I'm not done with the announcements. Yes, so after the group photo, you can head to lunch, and please enjoy your lunch. And please return here by precisely 1:30 p.m. We're going to have a closing ceremony. 1:30 p.m., okay?
Thanks, you guys can leave now.
Die vindt ze heet vermoeid. Dan geeft het general assembly en get it for the ball. Ja, oké. Okay. Somebody else. But you think I can leave? Yeah, I'm just gonna dump it.
Oh, hi.
I should fix the pants on the boots. I ran into with Kenny, sorry. Oh no, in terms of shipping.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, Jenny and I just see this brand new and it's like much. Oh, do you have to get in on a photo? Or else she can run off with it.
What's that? Happy New Day, So blurry.
Oh, I got it! Yes! 我给死定了，他妈的！我给神经病！
I made him watch it. Fuck. I don't care. 내가 관여진다. 엄마.
이제 방이 찍어.